It was a night shrouded in shadows, cold, silent, and ominous. The queen unfurled her wings with regal might, her gaze locked onto her destiny, soaring with fierce determination toward her embattled homeland. Above the trembling earth, Iris raised her snowy wings against the starlit heavens, silently invoking the ancient language of the waters, praying for salvation to pierce the gathering darkness. A luminous halo crowned her form, while a sword gleamed defiantly in her grasp. At her side, Fios led the vanguard, his voice resolute as his forces marched toward the heart of the storm. Atop the ramparts, a lone sorceress channeled all her strength, joining forces with fellow mages to cast back the demonic horde descending from the sky. Yet the swarm grew ever more frenzied, and from her vantage, Iris spotted a shadow darker than the rest. The Dark King himself had come. Resolute, Iris chose to face him alone. Elsewhere, Shima initially believed they might claim victory, but the sky betrayed that hope, swallowed whole by a suffocating blackness as the demons surged in both strength and number. Despair began to twist their strategies. The army of light now fought not to win, but to endure. Chaos reigned as a soldier, overcome by the creeping void, turned on the civilians he once protected. Another cut him down before he could do more harm. One by one, their comrades succumbed to the corruption. Grim-faced, Shima unleashed spell after spell to banish the fallen and formed a radiant barrier around the last cavalry unit and the palace gates. Nearby, Fios staggered, breath ragged but spirit unbroken, urging his weary troops to pull back. They would be the kingdom's final shield. The demons surged, sensing weakness, but they were halted by a single figure. Valius, Knight of Shadow, stood firm, his blade drawn to challenge Fios. As avatars of light and darkness, they clashed with thunderous force. High above, Iris dodged and parried, but the Dark King only laughed, a deep, mocking sound. He declared himself a power born of time's cruelty, not a transient flame. To him, all this was a game, an endless cycle he would end by ruling over time and space itself. But Iris would not let him prevail. Their blades met with a force that split the sky, while below, Shima's barrier fractured under demonic pressure. A violet fog crept into the minds of the cavalry, turning friend against friend. Screaming in anguish, Shima called once more upon the ancient tongue, but no light answered. Fios and Valus battled with blazing fury, the Dark Knight unyielding, his jibes forcing Fios to the edge of madness. But his strength paled next to the might of his adversary. Two champions clashed on earth while above, the sovereigns of light and dark fought for fate itself. Iris, bloodied but unwavering, launched herself like a divine spear toward the Dark King, but he struck her down mid-flight with a savage blow, her body crashing to the ground. Shima fought to heal the wounded, her magic fading, and collapsed, overwhelmed but still defiant. Hope flickered and died, only to glimmer faintly once more. In that dim glow, she remembered, if the old language failed, there remained the Fate Gear, their last, sacred weapon. The remaining sorceresses gathered around it, the gear pulsing with radiant light. Visions of Astora and other heroes shimmered in the air. Iris, weakened, let herself weep. Perhaps this was the end. Shima tried to rouse her queen, her voice cracking with desperation, but Iris remained still. Above, the enemy watched with smug triumph. Refusing to surrender, Shima staked her life on Iris's awakening. She cried out one final plea, to remember the mission, to bring back the light. A tortured scream pierced the night as Shima was overwhelmed, writhing in torment. Far away, in the heart of the Dark Kingdom, Astora raced through the citadel, following a soldier's urgent directions toward the spatial gate. As he reached the palace gates, footsteps echoed. He turned, and there stood Edders, his former ally, now his enemy, whom he had once struck down for defying the Light King. With cold fury, Edders raised his blade. Astora questioned why Eaters, once a trusted ally, had gone so far as to sever his body into two, despite their past camaraderie as comrades in arms. What bewildered Eaters was Astora's unwavering devotion to the Queen of Shiro, despite not being of Shiro's blood. In their bitter exchange, Eaters revealed truths long buried, truths that unveiled a grim reality. Everything had been orchestrated by the king himself. Not only had Astora been kept in the dark, but even Valus, his closest knight, was blind to the deceit that birthed this war. Moved by Astora's relentless pursuit of truth and justice, Edders drew his blade, eyes burning with fury. His body twisted and transformed, limbs elongating, flesh warping, until he stood as a true demon. Astora charged, but his attack barely fazed the monstrous being. Edders countered with overwhelming force, and Astora, though injured, unleashed a hidden magical aura inherited from seers. In a brilliant burst of power, black stones surged from the ground, encasing Eaters and halting his rampage. Believing victory his, Astora turned to make his way to the palace, only to be seized by tendrils of darkness. Eaters had broken free. Mocking Astora's naivete, he struck with venomous precision, each blow crushing armor and tearing flesh. Just as Eaters prepared his final blow, Astora found an opening, driving his blade deep into the demon's core, ending the battle with a decisive strike. As Edders dissolved into shadow, he spoke one final truth. The Dark King, whose lies had twisted the hearts of nations, sought not only the fall of Shiro, but the ruin of Kuro as well. All of it, a grand deception to ascend as supreme ruler. With that, Edders faded into nothingness. Rising from the battlefield, Astora reclaimed his sword and stormed into the palace. The ambush waiting beyond the teleportation gate crumbled before his fury. With speed and desperation, he sprinted to the docks, dispatching minor demons as he ran. Grossa appeared above, casting barriers that shattered airborne foes. She called out to him. She would protect the palace, so the prince she had long cherished could finish his mission. Yet when Astora reached the docks, he found them empty. The airships were gone. In that moment of despair, a strange power awakened within him. A radiant aura burst from his body, black wings unfolding from his back. Without hesitation, he took to the skies, soaring above the clouds. Elsewhere, Shima battled valiantly against the encroaching darkness but was ultimately consumed. Awakened by the voice of a fellow sorceress, she found herself envious of Iris, the white sorceress, whose strength seemed boundless. Atop the tower, Iris, weighed by guilt, spoke the ancestral water language, grieving her broken promise to Astora. Astora, flying toward her, carved a path of destruction through the sky, every swing of his sword cleaving through enemy ranks. Iris, with no other recourse, summoned the full power of the ancestral language. In doing so, she sealed both Kuro and Shiro, shaking the very foundations of the earth. Valis, sensing impending ruin, turned back, rushing to find Shima before racing into the collapsing palace. The land groaned, and all was swallowed in thick, choking smoke. Outside the city, Theos finally grasped the scale of the betrayal. Dropping his sword, he lamented the futility of his battle. The queen never waited for him. The language of the ancients surged forth, a blinding force that consumed everything, even Iris. Dazed, Astora heard a familiar voice, the one he had longed to hear. His eyes flew open, but it was too late to turn back. Though Iris lay buried beneath the ruins, Astora, driven by her final wish, soared onward. From the pit of darkness, the Dark King rose to witness the collapse of both heaven and earth. But the sacrifice had already been made. Iris had given her life, her language, and the entire aerial continent to destroy him. Then came a flash, like a comet cleaving the sky. Astora, unable to save her, yet unshaken in resolve, he struck. His blade pierced the wide, watching eye of the Dark King, delivering a curse that cast the tyrant back into the abyss. With that final blow, the saga reached its end.